The bounty hunters. It's a bad sign when you wake up to the sound of a heart monitor with no idea how you got into that situation. His head pounded with every beep of the monitor, and groaning in pain just made it worse. Drake Engel reaches up to feel the bandages around his eyes. Nothing seems to make sense. Why is he in a hospital? Here, let me help. Wait, that Captain Schmidt? Much is coming back. He's part of an elite team that tests new weapons and tactics while also making a good name for humanity. Nicknames only, he says, and Drake frowns for a moment. Right, they use nicknames with almost everything. It was a team thing, but their names weren't forbidden it. I'm missing something, Bike says as he slowly sits up and makes no more move at whatever's binding his eyes. You've run up against an enemy trap. It went right to your memory centers, and since it was designed for another species, it didn't work the right way with you. You resisted, and damn near died of a stroke. Pukey answers, and Bike sucks in a shocked breath. You're pulling through, but like me, you're on light duty until cleared by our doctor. Yeah, I suppose a stroke is up there with the feedback from your limbs being fried. Yay, I'm told the phantom pains for all 3 arms I've had and the eyeballs will fade in a few weeks to a month. Pukey notes. That's in normal alien biology. What about in humans? We don't know. All I know is that I'm not having any sleep unless the eye is out and the arm is off. Hurts that much? The pain is nothing. It's the buzzing, charging feeling that sets my teeth on edge. It's like I've stuck my tongue in a wall socket. Pukey notes. Need help with those head bandages? Yeah, I want to see. You were bleeding out the eyes for a bit, so don't be surprised if they feel swollen and sensitive, Pukey says as Bike feels the bandages being tugged at and then pulled away. His eyes are closed and it's already too bright. Not a good sign. What got me? The zap field over the whole planet is also a primer for any number of other effects. You ran into one designed to make people forget. But like I said, human brains are built differently. Every non-human gets absent-minded. But the more we stare at the effect, the harder it tries to do something, and that damn near caused a stroke. Pukey explains again as his eyes adjust to the light and he starts to crack them open. It's like staring into the sun. Yeah, I'm starting to remember. It's like how everyone describes a hangover to me. You've never been hung over? I'm German. When I was 5, I could down more beer than you do now, Bike says with a grin. Glad you're better, but you and I are on light duty. Speaking of duty, what's the plan? Bike asks, and Pukey holds out a data chit. We've already gone through a meeting while you were out. In summary, we've got a lot more data and have been approved to us WMDs. I have Mustard and Itchy working on some gas, and we're going to take a look to see if we can get a proper visual on that thing that J3 spotted. WMDs? Holy shit, Bike mutters. Yeah, and I think I have perfect project for the both of us. Keeps us on ship, out of trouble and out of the way. Oh? Bike asks. The plan is to get a perfect target and use overwhelming force. But I want a second and third shot in case the first fails. We have a small number of railguns on the ship. Care to help me manufacture some tri-tight coated tungsten? Rods from God? Bike asks with his eyebrows going up and a smile crossing his face. Rods from God, a god that does not approve of heathen magic, but greatly smiles on the natural law of consequences. Oh, such as the consequence of what happens when you're hit by a dense chunk of metal going an appreciable percentage of the speed of light, Bike asks. More like what happens when you wound but don't finish off the humans. We're a spiteful bunch. Ja mein Führer. None of that, or I won't let you make the rounds. Pukey counters and Bike laughs. All right, fine. No German humor. Not that there was any left after we got rid of the funny people, Bike says in an ominous voice. Dude, Pukey protests as he can't help but laugh. All right, I'm gonna get my Cindy so we can sign you out properly. 20 minutes later, both men are walking into one of the manufacturing bays as Bike watches the meeting finish off. I'm not fully comfortable with using gas weapons. They're effective, yes, but damn near redefine the term indiscriminate. Bike remarks, can't we use a lesser version? Since we're so chemically resistant, we can just spit vodka or beer on some aliens to potentially kill them. I agree that it would be preferable to have a smaller weapon with a less indiscriminate yield, but our enemy has an entire planet hostage. We need a way to hit them with overwhelming force because if they survive the first hit, then I have no doubt that we'll be seeing a genocidal retaliation, so every blow we deal has to be overwhelming. Hence the gas attacks and rods of God. With an entire world as a hostage, there's no way to actually operate on a small scale. Bike considers. Yes, especially seeing as how our opponent already has a kill count in the billions. Billions. Yes. As in thousands of millions? Bike asks to be completely sure. Yes, we managed to get a few more chunks of information when you were out. The population of the world was 2.3 trillion before these events kicked off. Their current estimated numbers are 1.9 trillion, Pukey says, and Bike outright gags as the math clicks. Target Actual has killed over 400 billion people. Their kill ratio is 50 times the size of our species, Bike demands. It would seem so. We're trying to verify the information. But the skyscrapers of the cities have immense population densities and a lot of cities are emptied out. There are a lot of people unaccounted for. And what if they're being held hostage? What if they're still alive in the cities? Bike asks. Aside from the cities being completely covered by the more active parts of the field that slowly build up to kill everything more complicated than a rat? Pukey asks. Yes. We don't know. So we're going to be sending drones in. The gas attacks will need to be strategically placed in each city to maximize effectiveness and minimize damage. While we sweep for the perfect position, we'll also be looking for potential hostages. Pukey answers and Bike nods. Damn the fucking fog of war. Bike growls out before they enter the side manufacturing chamber. Here, let me show a few tricks, some German ingenuity. So you're on board with the WMDs? Pukey asks. Not entirely, but I agree that an enemy standing on hundreds of billions of corpses is one that you take deadly seriously. Besides, it's not like big, thick chunks of metal expire. We can just throw them in a storage closet until we need them for something else. Bike confirms before turning to the machines. Now, the first thing about getting some proper German efficiency is to remember that. So, I told you both to take it easy, Cindy says as she starts to lecture her two patients. That one of them is her husband and father of her soon-to-be hatched son, and the adoptive father of her beloved adopted son. The other was an otherwise reliable and intelligent man that, if she wasn't already married, she would have been lusting after fairly hard. Not that there weren't a great many objects of deep and powerful lust on this ship, but that's what you get when you hang around humans. Also, it was apparently catching as Slithern was showing signs of going into an early rut. Early as in, if the pattern continues, it's going to be a biannual thing rather than annual. It was easy, Bike says, and she glares at him. Good doctor. The trick to true German efficiency is to not only know your limits, but understand that the tools are there to do the work for you and have a plan. Let the machines move, as it were. All we did was monitor quality, press some buttons, and drive some small lifts. No more strenuous physically than playing a game on the phone, much more productive though. Which is another trick. Long hours and strenuous work destroys efficiency, quality and speed. Work to your limits and not beyond. I don't see how building an entire salvo of railgun munitions over a 5-hour period can be relaxing. You two are supposed to be relaxing. Ah, but there is a heady, enjoyable sensation to the satisfaction of working well, Bike says with a smile. Also, we did not make a salvo of railgun munitions. This ship has a full 6 guns that use kinetic rounds. A full salvo is half a dozen shots. We've made 3 dozen tungsten core tri-tight rounds. That is 6 full salvos, good doctor. Stop helping, Pukey says, and Cindy groans into her hands. All right, you jokers, back to medical. I need to make sure neither of you strained anything. Humans, always pushing. Cobes, always adorable. Pukey replies, picking her up and cuddling her close. Don't you suck up to me. You're still in trouble, big man. I don't know if he's all that big. I know I've got 20 pounds on him. The arm tips it in my favor, Pukey counters. Sorry that reinforced armor plating has weight? Cindy asks. I wasn't complaining, I was bantering. Besides, with a good chunk of a limb being holographic, I had in fact lost weight. Oh please, Cindy mutters, but is still not making any moves to leave Pukey's embrace. You humans have such a weird physiology, storing fat for later consumption and then developing a species-wide complex about it. It's not species-wide, it's more cultural, Pukey notes. Whatever. I want you both back in bed and laying still to make sure neither of you strained anything. Both of you have had your nervous systems outright attacked. You have to play it safe and slow. Cindy commands them before sighing. Do you two have any idea how much you're skewing my training? I'm still just a nurse. I need more time to finish my studies to become a proper practicing physician. And getting used to fools that keep ignoring pain and never seem to tire is giving me all sorts of skewed data points. Sorry, sweetie. We'll try not to interfere too much with your studies. You work so hard and easily pull the weight of 5 women, Pukey says gently. What did I just say about you buttering me up, she asks, and he chuckles. Sorry, dear, he replies as they both enter the medical bay. All right, both of you sit down so I can do a scan. Your nervous systems are robust and complicated, but I do have a baseline for both of you when you're healthy. I need to check that the mental strain hasn't caused some kind of side effect as both of you are clearly in fine physical form, Cindy says as she hops out of Pukey's arms and both men sit down on a pair of beds. She wheels up a device and unhooks a cone-shaped device from the side and climbs up to stand on the bed beside her husband. She holds the device next to his head. Now close your eyes and think of waves and wind. The device gives out a chirping hum for a bit and she nods after about a minute. Good. She then pokes at the device and nods. Good. There's still some slight sign of erratic behavior, but you're safely in healthy parameters. Mr. Engel, you're next. She outright jumps from one bed to the other and holds up the device. As I told my husband, think of waves and wind? Why waves and wind? Bike asks. It's a universally comforting image for most races, produces a predictable pattern, and by placing your thoughts in one active direction, you won't start thinking about other erratic things and possibly messing up the scan. Now please, close your eyes and think of waves and wind. Cindy answers and Bike closes his eyes and complies. All right, and, there's still some sign of damage, but you're healing very quickly. I hadn't totally believed you when I was told that there are some stem cells in the human brain. Looks like I was thankfully wrong. You should have a full recovery in just a few days, but I want you having an easy week just to make sure. The brain is a delicate and sensitive organ in any race, even one so robust as a human. Do I get a lollipop, doctor? Bike teases her and she scoffs. Sorry, but my sugar is for my husband. Speaking of sugar, Pukey says as he leans over and gives her a kiss. Damn your pheromones. Our egg is soon to hatch and I want to lay another.